Hey, welcome in. Well, taking a look at the Rotten Tomatoes page for the new Fauci documentary, there's something here that just doesn't seem quite right. Now, the critics give it a 91% approval, and the audience gives it a 2% approval. You know what? It almost feels like the critics and the audience are looking for two completely different things out of a documentary about Fauci. So this is a bit of a mystery. Let's try and get to the bottom of it. What is the audience actually saying? Well, here's one. In the modern political zeitgeist, it was simply poor timing. For those already nervous enough about the pandemic measures and the like, the film comes off more as a 1940s propaganda film than a riveting documentary about the savior of humanity and how he loves people so much. Well, I guess we can all admit, if Fauci has one flaw, it's that he loves people too much. But anyway, this person is saying they wouldn't recommend. Well, here's another one. This was essentially a piece of propaganda that is contributing to the polarization of society. Well, that sounds totally unreasonable, doesn't it? What are they saying? I would have loved to have heard balanced perspectives on both sides of the challenging issues that Fauci has faced in his career. As scientifically interested and politically moderate types will be very disappointed in this. So, balanced perspectives, you know what? Actually, that sounds like it might have been something good to have in a documentary. But anyway, let's move on. The documentary was not insightful and full of inaccuracies that make me question why this was even put out in the first place. Well, this one doesn't sound positive. It's hard to understand how sick, an uncritical, and shallow documentary could be made about someone at the center of so much failure. Here's another one. I expected some propaganda. Propaganda keeps popping up in these reviews. So I expected some propaganda and ended up with a sizable helping. I don't doubt that Fauci has been a good father or any of that, but this man has failed in his public servant role, especially during the pandemic. Fails to mention any of the freedoms of information documents that have come out showing Fauci has not been truthful or transparent with regard to the origins of the pandemic. High chance the creators of this documentary will find their credibility down the drain in due time. Well, not if the critics have anything to say about that, and not if the people who paid to have this thing made like it. Here's another one. Seems kind of one-sided and very scripted. So it kind of just goes on like this. I noticed in this article from the Federalist, they mentioned that absent from the documentary was any mention that the highest paid federal official knowingly lied to the public about, among other things, the threshold for percentage of vaccinated people required to reach a safe level of herd immunity. He did lie about that, didn't he? And he admitted to it. He also lied about the masks thing with the they only work on doctors and nurses, which was an obvious lie at the time, which he then later admitted to publicly. And then there was that whole thing about, here's from Newsweek. Fauci was untruthful to Congress about Wuhan lab research. New documents appear to show. Yeah, that was surrounding the gain of function stuff. And I don't believe that was in the documentary. So I guess this is the kind of stuff that maybe the audience would have liked to have seen in the documentary. But let's check out what the critics loved about it so much. So this person loved it, as shines a light on his accomplishments and the man himself, his knowledge and experience, honesty and integrity. So, okay. Here's another glowing one. Absorbing and ultimately uplifting. Sure. If the goal was to humanize the 80-year-old talking head, filmmakers John Hoffman and Janet Tobias have succeeded. And that really would be quite an accomplishment, wouldn't it? Very, very interesting. And Fauci comes out as an honest and fascinating character. Fauci is a refreshing figure and a standard bearer for the truth. Are you sure you used the right word there? Truth? Anyway, how about this one? It's a worthy movie. I wish they had done a little more with his early life. More with his early life. That's what everybody's been clamoring for. Anyway, the critics seem to have a habit of disagreeing with the public quite a bit. There's this Dave Chappelle, The Closer. I just did a video on that, actually. And 97% audience score, 43%. From the critics, because there's some quote-unquote controversial content in there, which I didn't actually find controversial, but But critics have a different view on things. That was actually, I think, 33% just a couple of days ago. Then we remember The Last Jedi. Critics loved that, 91%. Audience score is sitting at 42% now. But they gave it a 91%, and it didn't even have Fauci in it. How about this one, cuties? This one actually was pretty controversial. A lot of people found it creepy and bordering on illegal. But the critics gave it 88%. Audience 16%. Again, it's almost as if critics and audiences are looking for different things. It makes me wonder if they have different motivations. Like the audience seemed to not want to be propagandized, and they wanted balance, as they said. Whereas the critics wanted to know more about Fauci's childhood and just seemed to want to hear more about what a great guy Fauci is. And I wonder if there might be some other kind of motivation, maybe financial or something, maybe career aspirations amongst the critics. Because at this point, they're useless, because either they don't know what's good, or they're too afraid to say so. Anyhow, that's all I got to say about that. Please subscribe, like, and share. That really helps me out. If you just like to listen, there's the podcast Radio Baloney. It's on pretty much every platform. If you look for it, you will find it. Thank you very much. I'll see you next time.